Hello, please make sure to access the description of this video for the link to my document, Expanded Timeline, Charles Evans 24-25, which I'm introducing in this video. There are more links in this video's description to some of the things I'll refer to. I'm going to provide a quick run through of some of the highlights in the timeline with a little commentary. There's a lot, and I can't cover it all in this video. Please take the time to read the document. The very last page of the document is a one-page summary of major events. Ardmore residents who follow local news, especially the families of children who've attended Charles Evans since the district moved to grade centers nearly 2 years ago, are aware of the high principal turnover since then. I'm Chris Dvorak, or Dvorak, as my kids are determined to revive. Ardmore alumnus, parent of 3 current Ardmore students, and former Charles Evans principal, the 4th of now 5 educators to act in that position since the grade center model began 2 years ago. For those that aren't aware, I was told to resign or be terminated by Superintendent Andy Davis after I called him out on April 30th, 2025 for obstructing me from properly addressing staff discipline since mid-October 2024. Andy has, of course, misled everyone about the nature of my departure in the letter he sent to parents and staff and in his statement at the May 20th board meeting. The same board meeting after which Andy made fun of concerned parents who had attended in a principal text group. Please see the links in the description of this video for the screenshot. Resigning 8 days before school ended was not a chosen part of my career journey, as Andy put it. My assistant principal, Autumn Simon, was also removed from her position and then ultimately not rehired anywhere else in the district. It was her first year as an administrator. Autumn had taught 16 years at Ardmore, completed her master's degree, obtained full principal certification, and transitioned to administration in the district she'd been loyal to for nearly 2 decades. In doing that, she had given up the protections of her career teacher status, trusting that her dedication to serve Ardmore in a bigger capacity would be valued. Autumn was all in. This level of administrative turnover might lead a person to wonder what's going on at Charles Evans. Why so much leadership attrition? Why has this site been a Bermuda Triangle for every administrator that stepped foot inside? Well, I've lived to tell the tale, and I'm going to share it with you for 2 reasons. Firstly, to clear my name and character. Secondly, and more importantly, to act as a messenger with insight to the problems at Ardmore to anyone who cares about this district. I want everyone to know that all this information was provided to each of the 5 Ardmore City Schools board members a week before the May 20th, 2025 board meeting. It was a very rough draft of the document now available to you, but all the important elements were there. There were also many parent calls and emails to board members to look into all of this throughout May and June with the intent to keep the dialogue discreet and confidential out of respect for them and the district. After little concern and even less detectable scrutiny that the board's been willing to demonstrate thus far, parents requested to be added to the June board agenda to inquire about the superintendent's actions in all of this. But that request was denied by Board President Harry Spring on June 7th, 2025, at the behest of Superintendent Davis. The board has acted as if they're beholden to the superintendent rather than to parents who have asked for them to look into why 2 more Charles Evans principals were fired while reports of staff misconduct continue. You might also find it noteworthy that of the 3 new district principals the board approved to hire in June, not a single one of them has a principal certification. That's right, not a one has obtained principal certification. This information is readily accessible to the public on the Oklahoma State Department of Education website using the Educator search tool on the teacher certification page. This link is also in the video's description for you. Hey, I'll face whatever comes next after sharing my account publicly, knowing that I have been and will continue to be relentlessly truthful. Everyone involved in this should be ready to accept whatever cost comes with truth. While I will, for the moment, respectfully protect teacher and leader names other than Andy Davis, despite none of them being deserving, I will share the other details of the story. A tragedy of negligence and deception still playing out across the district. What I'm doing with this is simply telling the story of my experience as the Charles Evans principal under the leadership of Andy Davis. I signed a resignation agreement in which I waived my right to due process and agreed not to hold the school legally liable for any wrongdoing. But the story shall be told. There are emails, video that's archived, and entries into the TLE, that's Teacher Leader Effectiveness district account, to back up my story. I took the Charles Evans principal job in February of 2024. Andy and the former superintendent warned me in the interview that there were certain staff who were difficult and unprofessional. They said they didn't want to fire anyone and that we just needed to work with them. I knew them, and so I felt like I could. When I got on site, it became very clear very quickly that they lived up to all the hype. They were boldly unprofessional. But my task was to work on staff unity and get through the year. The fall rolled around and we started the 24-25 school year. Andy was the superintendent by then. I knew that staff expectations had to be much higher. 9 days into school, and there were already several teachers who'd been late to work without notifying me. I sent each one of them push pins. That's a messaging tool in the evaluation portal. They accused me of racial targeting and took no responsibility at all. They were the victims, according to them. I refer to these teachers as the push pin 4, teachers 1, 2, 3, and 4. This disappointed me, but everybody knows me. I wasn't worried about it. Andy was. Teacher 1 fell apart as we went into September. She tried to undermine me at every opportunity. I wrote her up in the TLE, but she kept on with all sorts of outrageous stuff and started recruiting staff to subvert me. She orchestrated a walkout that was supposed to be in mid-October, even while she was the Charles Evans AEA rep. Andy told me not to give her second formal write-up around fall break. Yes, sir. He said to hold off on giving her the write-up. He said we needed to let cooler heads prevail, giving validation to her defiance. So I held off. He met with a small group of teachers. Then he told me he was going to have a mentor work with a push pin 4. I was to hold off on discipline to let this play out. No other teachers were allowed their principal to be sidelined from them, their own accountability to be paused, and a personal mentor to negotiate with. I went along with it, which was something that went against everything I stand for. Not only was it unethical and actually discriminatory, which is unintentional irony and intellectually unfortunate, it was a betrayal of all the people showing up to work to do the right thing, many of them doing extra. But over the past few years, I'd left the 2 best jobs I ever had over disagreements with my boss. I couldn't afford to do it again. I had to roll with this guy's political cowardice. There was another defining event that took place in early August. Teacher X smacked a special needs student in the mouth. I reported it to Andy and Director X. I was thinking that this teacher's done. They both told me it didn't look like much, and I was dumbfounded. Director X even replied that the kid was a brat anyway, and the real problem in that classroom was a lazy paraprofessional. I wish I was joking. I wrote Teacher X up formally in the TLE anyway. I had her call the parents and review de-escalation strategies. Now, these are the 2 storylines that would continue throughout the remainder of the year. The mentor project for teachers 1, 2, 3, and 4 made them bolder, and Andy got more and more involved in managing discipline for them. Teacher X committed 2 more offenses of student mistreatment, and Andy and Director X continued to protect her from any disciplinary action whatsoever. Andy even directed me to give a 5-day suspension to the 2nd grade student she placed in a full bear hug restraint unnecessarily. Andy later preempted me with discipline for teacher 3, who grabbed kids by the arm in anger and flipped one over her knee to spank him. And teacher 4, who made a student do a wall sit for a half hour. He never discussed disciplinary action for them with me, but he required me to present these admonishments as if they came from me. These were fireable offenses. but he wrote low-level write-ups for them. He threw in a write-up for a white teacher for racial optics, and then he staged a director intervention, so it looked like he was supporting Charles Evans' principles, not obstructing them from addressing teacher misconduct. I twisted off on Andy in a meeting with those directors in autumn about being prevented from handling staff since October. He said in front of them all, we were going to get sued. He said, we were going to get sued. For the first 9 weeks, my TLE activity is clear. I was addressing everything like a principal should. My staff discipline was measured and fair. After he sidelined me from the push pin 4 and had the mentor work with him, nothing. Teacher X gets away with murder, nothing. My TLE activity drops off the map at fall break. This wasn't because I just decided one day that I wasn't going to address staff performance anymore. This was Andy controlling who got what. After some outrageous incidents from teacher 3 late in the year, I recognized that this was getting dangerous. No job was worth this. So on April 30th, I called Andy out for what he created at Charles Evans. I emailed him a statement that the continued teacher misconduct at Charles Evans is a direct result of his obstruction, discriminatory accountability, and the creation of a side channel for grievances. In his very lawyered up reply, he contorted my admission of feeling shut down since October to be the cause of teacher issues rather than my statement reflecting the emotional effects of his obstruction. I sent a list of teachers I didn't want to hire for the next year. He then pretended to be oblivious to any reason that these teachers should not be rehired and accused me of being retaliatory toward teacher disloyalty. On May 6th, I provided him with a list of justifications for the non-renewal of each teacher, despite all of them being adjunct, probationary, or at-will employees, none of whom have due process rights. And despite him knowing full well the conduct and performance issues of each teacher. He then told me to resign or be terminated. So after considering the options Andy gave me, I decided to walk away. I signed a resignation agreement, which included waiving my right to due process and that I wouldn't hold the district legally liable for any wrongdoing. Things that don't come with your typical self-determined resignation. My decision to do this was calculated, albeit cynical. Even if I had won the grievance to the school board to keep my job, where do I go from there? I'd be working under conditions that my ethics couldn't tolerate. The truth is, I knew that the school board would never undermine the superintendent. It would never happen. The only real recourse is that the truth be told to staff, parents, and this community, and the story shall be told. My hope is that the truth matters to enough of you. Some of these teachers, Teacher X, the mentor, and Director X, will all be at Ardmore City Schools next year, comfortably employed. Parents, it may be your kid that's in their class, or depending on the good judgment of those at the admin level. Autumn and I won't be there to say anything. Ask yourself this. Does it make any sense at all that an experienced administrator, Ardmore alum with 3 kids in the district, along with his assistant principal, who's been loyal to the district for 16 years, would just sit back and watch the school turn into a Gremlins movie? Does it make any sense that my TLE staff discipline entries would just completely stop after the first 9 weeks for no reason? Do you think there was anything at the school that Autumn and I couldn't handle? Do you think we didn't care about the environment at Charles Evans or staff accountability or the culture, the kids, the trust we had worked hard to earn? Do you think we were the ones that earned termination? Does it make any sense that the guy who's been over district personnel decisions for years, who warned me about unprofessional teachers before I even took the job, has this much bad luck with principals, deciding to remove yet another principal and assistant principal and create a narrative that we were the problem? We were actually trying to raise the bar while he was busy standing on it. The worst part about all of this is that it was all unnecessary in the end. Andy had to go back and discipline the teachers he obstructed me from addressing during the early part of the school year. All he had to do was support my staff discipline in the first place. How easy would that have been? When I called him out for his unethical leadership, he got rid of me. But then he had to hurry and do the very write-ups he was responsible for blocking. That's twice the work. And you have to lie to cover up the first lie. What a freaking waste of time. How unbelievably selfish and foolish and so cowardly. And there are casualties in all the cowardice and deception. The first casualties were all the staff that showed up every day to do the right thing and expected leaders to uphold a standard. Then came the casualties of the cover-up and the casualty of trust. It can't be said enough just how great the loss of Autumn Simon is for Ardmore. She'll be an incredible administrator one day. It'll just be somewhere else. She waited for an admin opportunity in the district to open up instead of looking elsewhere. In her first year in administration was like watching a fish take to water. I mean, she's a natural. She loves kids, isn't afraid of trying new things, possesses and shares extensive knowledge, and has integrity and courage. She's one of the most dependable people I've ever known, and she admits when she's wrong. That's what leadership requires. She encouraged me when I was struggling with all this. She'll be a benefit to her next district, and it's a shame that she wasn't given a chance to keep that position at Ardmore. She was the victim of somebody else's game. She knew it and didn't like it, but she never stopped trying. She cared about Ardmore, and I want every employee who has the same dedication to this district to remember how Autumn's loyalty was treated. Andy told her he wouldn't be rehiring her in the Charles Evans assistant principal position because he didn't think the teachers would respond to her. Let that sink in. That says everything about his leadership in one short quip. Had I known that selling my integrity to Andy would have led to all this, I would have refused to go along with any of it from the very beginning and taken the lick, whatever came with it. I was going to lose my job anyway. Why isn't Ardmore the great district it used to be? Why do teachers of the year leave the district? Why are families packing their bags? Because it's been turned into a rehab center. We've tried to save everybody to the detriment of everybody else. And there are great teachers and staff at Ardmore, fantastic people who work hard, committed. They deserve to be respected. Their work environment to be protected, not to be taken for granted, and their dedication to be exploited. They're the ones keeping this district afloat, and it's their backs that leadership moves like this trample on. School board, you know all this because I gave each one of you all this information after I was fired. Every parent, every employee, every community member needs to know that you knew all of this well before the May board meeting. They also deserve to know that you denied the parent request to be placed on the agenda, knowing that there is frustration and desire to know what the hell has been happening at Charles Evans over the last 2 school years. My intent truly was to keep this discreet. Nobody wants to have to sort through this kind of organizational stupidity. But here we are. Hard things have to be faced. Kids are involved. So we all must do what we must, and I must not allow the people to remain ignorant of the betrayal of their trust. You work for the people, not the protection of the organization. The people want scrutiny of the superintendent to be carried out by you, not for you to carry out obscurity on his behalf. I understand there are limitations to what you can do, but please don't bask in that. Don't comfort yourself by erring toward nothing. You can do more than nothing. If parents know nothing about what you're actually doing, then you're doing nothing. Indifference to student mistreatment, allowing the destruction of a culture, violating discrimination statutes, violating district grievance policy, not holding teachers to account, killing off the whistleblowers, watching Autumn Simon, a loyal district teacher of 16 years, have her career destroyed, not even showing up on a board agenda, no questions asked. And what about me? Was I the problem? I didn't bring any value? I mean, how many losses are worth keeping up the illusion of unity and support? What about the entire Charles Evans staff and parents? The kids that were caught up in this. knowing that there was an entire building that suffered through this as if they were the toys of a sociopathic child. You had nothing to say, nothing to ask. And what's the trust of this community worth? Nothing. And you follow that up the next month with a unanimous approval to hire 3 principals without a single principal certification. I mean, who are you beholden to? What are you doing? If you have questions, you're expected to ask them. If you disagree, you're expected to vote that way. You don't want more bad press for Ardmore, but you don't want to make a stand to the half-assed culture that's the source of it. Not even an executive session. I'm an Ardmore guy. I don't want any more bad press. Here's how you stop it. Fix the culture inside the buildings. It has to start with the admin building. A new high school doesn't fix what's driving people out of the district. The work that Ardmore needs is in the trenches, in the hallways, in the classrooms, in the teachers' lounges, in the locker rooms, on the field, on the court. It's holding people to a standard no matter who they are. We have to stop tolerating the intolerable. Support principals when they try to uphold a standard in their building instead of requiring them to go along with shady political cowardice. When staff demonstrate that they have no intention of getting on board, let principals show them the door. When students and their families demonstrate they have no intention of receiving the education we're providing and prevent others from receiving it, let principals show them the door. Support principals that actually want to do this. I promise you, we will have fewer staff scandals that hit the news. We'll have better educational outcomes. We'll retain good people. Stop fear-based micromanaging. You're not going to save every employee from their own self-destruction. You're not going to educate someone when they're hell-bent on not being educated. What you can do is protect the work culture and protect the classroom culture on behalf of those who respect and appreciate it. Stop forcing the district to be a rehab center where there's no accountability for anyone. This isn't rocket science. Stand up for the ones that continue to contribute to our school and remove those that destroy it. It's simple and a lot cheaper than paying the more than 60% in overhead for a new high school. It's where you have to start, and you can't be afraid to do it. If you demonstrate that you're serious about fixing the culture, people are more likely to support a bond. Even district employees told you that on election day. Try listening to them instead of hunting them down with voting records to strong-arm them. The reason I hear families wanting to leave the district is that their kids aren't learning anything. After reading through my expanded timeline document, which I describe the events of last year, you don't have to wonder why that is. We can't get to academics. Leadership is too busy patronizing stupidity when it's not creating stupidity itself. How can you lead anyone anywhere when you intentionally waste your own time? Principals, teachers, staff, they know they're the ones holding the bag, but they won't speak up. They'd risk their jobs. Parents are left in the dark, trust betrayed. They feel lost and defeated and wonder if it's all too far gone to make a difference. When they do act, they feel obstructed by a board that's too preoccupied with putting on a skit of district unity instead of uncovering any ugly truths on their behalf. These are the conditions that allow scavenger leadership to thrive. That's what's happening. Fellow parents, we have to unite to fix this. It's the only way to combat scavenger leadership. If parents don't organize, then our school's just lying dead on the side of the road. To all my Charles Evans people, staff and parents, I appreciate your support and trust. And I'm sorry I didn't stand up to this sooner, or that I didn't just refuse from the beginning and report it. I wish I would have, and hope you can forgive me. I share this because I care about the safety and education of our kids and the potential of Ardmore City Schools. Again, please find the link to the expanded timeline in the description of this video. I've worked hard to tell the story for the benefit of my Ardmore people. Go Tigers. Thank you.